G'day, Bob.
It is Bob speaking.
Michael Purse from Adelaide. How you doing?
And I'm alright.
Very well, mate. Great. Always good to say hello to you, mate.
Well, thank you very much. You're a very kind man. Slightly deluded, possibly, but very kind.
And from what I'm hearing, you're a very busy man at the moment. Lots happening.
I am busy. I'm not supposed to be busy. I'm actually supposed to be taking the rest of the year off. But I have been busy with the preliminaries of getting this thing called the Angels on the road. So that's been taking up a fair amount of time, and I'm doing some things for myself in this time off. So I've been doing some writing for me. I'm doing some writing for a movie, and I'm also doing some writing for the Angels. So, hey, I'm out in the sun. Is that wind bothering you?
No, that's okay. We can live with that. As long as you're comfortable, that's all that matters, mate.
I'm comfortable. I'm out in the backyard, and it's a lovely sunny day. So it's just keeping us. In fact, I might be able to get out of the wind. There you go. It's a bit more out of the wind.
Beautiful.
So, Michael, continue. Let's continue.
Oh, and of course, I'm very excited about what's happening with the Angels. But I wanted to just touch on your other project, Greater Groove Music, which you've been doing for a while, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I've been doing Greater Groove Music for nearly 3 years now, and that's just delightful. I love doing that. My heart is very much into mentoring and coaching the kids, and I really dig doing that. It's very hard work. It can be quite stressful, which is actually why I'm supposed to be taking the rest of the year off. But it's really very satisfying. It's very challenging, and I love being able to help the kids through music. And they're delightful kids for the most part. It's kind of interesting. We have this situation where, as far as I know, for the first time in recent history, kids are listening to the music that their parents and grandparents listen to. So the kids are really familiar with things like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, and of course I introduced them to Free, and they know of the Who. It's Jimi Hendrix. It's very odd that these 10 and 12-year-old kids like chatting with me about the band I saw in 1970. It's very weird, but it's good.
I think it's not, for a while there it was not cool to discover rock music in your younger teens and look back over the history. But certainly for you and me, that was very cool. It was, to look back for us, back as far as the start of rock and roll. You just, there was so much to sort of to go and explore, and maybe that was not cool for quite a while.
Oh, it was not cool, and it was also, our parents were listening to really daggy stuff, apart from my father in particular is a huge Sinatra fan, and so am I, but apart from Sinatra, there's not a damn thing that my father listened to that I found anywhere near interesting, and yet these kids they're actually stealing their parents' AC/DC and Angels records. It's very pleasing, but it's very unusual. We would never have been seen dead. Wouldn't be caught dead listening to your parents' records when I was a kid. If someone caught you listening to, Acapella, you'd probably get smacked.
Oh yeah, well, I still agree with that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Now there's something for you, but that's a slightly different topic. But it's just a very different state of affairs. I have a fun band called Raw Brit, and which is a tremendously good band. They're excellent musicianship, great people. They're like brothers to me, and we play only the English music that I grew up on. So we play only Free, Zeppelin, The Who. As I said, the band is called Raw Brit. Now, what we find is that kids love coming along to see us. So when we do gigs, we have kids as young as 9 and 10 in the audience. In fact, we did a gig a little while ago, and a friend of mine's 8-year-old daughter was just over the moon. tickle was fantastic.
Well, I had the great pleasure of having Mick Peeling on the show a little while ago, talking about what he's doing with the Prairie Oysters, but we did speak quite a bit about Raw Britt, and you can't get a better singer than him for that band, mate.
Oh, he's a fantastic singer, and he understands the genre, and he's able to take liberties with it because he understands it, which is a really great thing. You can't take liberties with something until you actually do understand it, and Mick is a wonderful singer. He's also a really good bloke, and he and I have been friends, not close friends, but he and I have been friends since, I guess it must be 1974, something like that. So that's nearly 40 years, isn't it?
It's a long time indeed, yes, but...
really long time, but he's a wonderful singer and a truly good man.
And I have harassed you before, and I did the same to Mick, that we would love to have Raw Britt come and see us in Adelaide one day.
We'd love to. And, one day when other things aren't so pressing, one of us might actually get on the phone and try and organise something. It's a matter of someone dedicating time to it. And because we do it mainly for fun, I mean, we do a little bit of money out of it, it's mainly a fun thing. Because of that, we don't really get on the blower and start trying to, book gigs. It has been suggested to us a couple of agents in South Australia. Look, the truth is, I think about it when I'm on the phone with you, and I'll forget about it 10 minutes later.
Well,
because there'll be other things that require doing, getting dinner ready and stuff like that. So.
Well, speaking of other things, the big news around the country is the Angels with Doc Neeson and all you guys that we know and love that have been in and out of the band. It's going to be a lot of fun for us, and I'm guessing a lot of fun for you.
Well, I'm hoping it's a lot of fun for me. The rehearsals went really well. We rehearsed a couple of weeks ago. We did 2 days, and we just ran through a couple of double songs and had a bit of a chin wag, cup of coffee, cup of tea, bit of a walk, all that sort of stuff. And the band sounded really good. It sounded like the band had been playing for years, but in fact that band has never played together. I've never played with Buzz. I've always wanted to play with Buzz. In fact, I bailed up Chris Bailey at Buzz many years ago and said, I really would like to be in a band with you two blokes. However, I had never played with Buzz until 2 weeks ago. And James Morley had never played with Buzz, nor had Jim.
No, that's
right. The only person in the band who had played with Buzz is Doc. And the band sounded, I swear, from the first note, the band sounded like we'd been playing together for a couple of years. And that's pretty unusual. Now, Raw Britt sound like that. The first notes that we played, it was just very, very comfortable, and everybody found their place. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But the Angels did the same thing. It just sounded very sort of tidy, and it sounded like the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle were fitting together from the first note. And I'm not trying to sell the band at all. That's just how it felt to me. Now, if it hadn't felt like that to me, I actually wouldn't be talking to you now, because I was very clear that if it didn't meet my musical expectations, I wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've got to say, as was everybody else. Everybody else had the same thing to say. Look, if it doesn't feel right musically, I'm not going to do it, because we all have other things to do. I'm still involved with the Weekend Warriors, as you mentioned. I have the business Greater Groove Music. I'm doing music for films. There are lots and lots of things that I'm doing. I don't need to have the Angels come back in my life. And the main reason for doing it would be if it felt right and it felt good, and we thought that we could do the songs justice, and we thought that the Angels audience might dig it, and we're hoping the Angels audience dig it. I'm not of the mind of I don't expect anything, Michael. we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping that people respond positively, but I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but look, it'll be what it is. People will see the band and decide whether they like it or not.
I really think the true Angels fans are, as I am, mate, are really chuffed that, as I said, you guys that have over the years played different roles in the Angels and very important roles in the Angels, to see you all back together, all together. As you said, you guys have never played with Buzz, which is going to be a real hoot. But also to you span the whole career of the Angels, this lineup, and that's really going to be very interesting for us to see as well.
Although, as you said, we haven't all played the band together. We individually span the entire Angels career, and that's something that I'd like our detractors to remember, that James and I, for example, were in the band at the time of its greatest commercial success. The Beyond Salvation album was the highest-selling album and the only number one album the band has had, and that's a lovely thing. That's not to diminish what happened before us by any means, but it's nice to be remembered for having been part of that album and that period of.
Yes, absolutely, and I had the great pleasure of having James Morley on the show only last week, and we spoke about that a lot, and I know we've spoken about that before, and I've spoken to Doc about it and Rick, and it is very much a high point of the Angels' career, and Beyond Salvation still stands up. What Terry Manning did as well, the production, it just jumps out of the speakers, still sounds as fresh as it ever did.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't really have much cause to listen to the album, Michael, because I've told you before, once something is done, I really don't need to listen to it again as long as I live. But I've had cause to listen to the tracks because we're doing tracks from that album in the set. And I thought, this actually holds up. And when I compare it with other recordings that I'm hearing at the moment, it still stands up, and a lot of credit needs to go to Terry for his input and his sonic overview. I guess he had something in mind when he recorded the band, as every producer should have. He shouldn't be flying blind, and it paid off. The album sounded good then. It still sounds good to me now. It still sounds contemporary. That doesn't mean I'm in love with all the songs by any means, but the album sounds good, and Red Back, which came after it, doesn't sound very good, and I think that helps to illuminate what input Terry Manning had.
Mm-hmm.
I think Howling sounded good. It was a bit cluttered and a bit pretty for my liking. When I listen to it now, I didn't think so at the time, but I haven't listened to Howling in 20-something years. I listened to, because you just don't, most of us don't do that. And I listened to a couple of tracks the other day, and I thought, it's all a bit pretty. Howling, it's not quite rude enough for me.
Yeah, I agree that Beyond Salvation did have very much an edge. And the other thing I mentioned to James the other night, mate, was the band live at that time was just, no one could touch you.
No, the band was on fire. The band was absolutely on fire, and that's the time we should have properly taken the band to America. And in fact, one reason I left the band was because a couple of the family members of the band refused to go to America. And I thought that was very short-sighted. I appreciate that people's families are main concern, but what I thought was sad was the inability to negotiate for periods of time going away to America.
Mm-hmm.
I think had we gone to the States then, we would have it would have gone through the roof. It would have just gone through the roof.
Well, I distinctly remember hearing an interview at the time with with Rick Nielsen, who the guys came and played with you in Australia with Cheap Trick, and even Rick Nielsen said that. I quite remember him saying that, there is no band on the planet in this point of time that can touch the Angels, and they were just in awe of you guys.
It was a damn good band, and what I liked them. I can't say I was in awe of Cheap Trick, but I thought that they were very good, very tidy, very professional. But when it came time for us going on, I just felt like, we're the kings.
Absolutely.
I just felt like that. Sounds horribly conceited, but that's how it felt at the time. That we felt like a really good band. We felt like a tight unit of 5 individuals who would disagree about pretty much everything, but it still felt like a very tight band because we had our eyes on the prize. As I like to say, we kept our eyes on the goal, which was this kind of rock thing, and I think we're all pretty clear about what that should be. And for a while there, for maybe a year or so, I think that the band, as you say, the band was an excellent band, and then we kind of lost the plot after that, which resulted in Redback Fever. So that's a bit disappointing. But I agree with you. I think the band at that stage was a formidable band, a very strong band with a very clear direction and a very clear look and a very clear sound. I think it was this great package that would have been easily transportable to Europe and America and Japan, in fact. And I remember very clearly I struggled so hard for our management to at least consider Japan, and they couldn't care less.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
I remember being very disappointed that they just could not care less, and now I have my rather conspiratorial reasons for thinking that they did that, which was basically to keep the band in Australia so they could keep earning money, Because once the band leaves Australia, the agencies here stop earning money at it.
Sad but true.
Really what they want.
The other interesting thing about the current lineup, mate, is you're playing guitar with James Morley, who Angels fans know as a drummer. But I guess anyone that's spent any time in Perth in the last 20 years, James Morley is a man of many talents.
Yeah, well, he joined the band as a bass player, our bass, and although he does in fact play drums, but he joined the band as a bass player with Brent Eagles on drums, and he was a great bass player. In fact, I was really impressed. I was listening to something that he recorded the other day again because I had to listen to it, and I thought, that's not bad bass playing. But in fact, his forte, in my eyes, is his rhythm playing. He's an astonishingly good rhythm guitar player. He's also a really good soloist. So he's playing half the solo. I think we've got him playing half the solos, something
Fantastic.
like that.
Fantastic.
I don't remember what the percentage is, but I don't care what the numbers say. But we've got him playing a bunch of solos, and he sounded fantastic. He's doing quite well with the Rick solos.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, mate. How does that change the dynamic for you?
I love it. I love playing this. I love, playing solos is lovely, and it gives you a chance to, polish your ego and all that sort of stuff. And I love the opportunity to invent things in my solo playing, in my lead breaks or whatever you want to call them. But I also really like playing rhythm and logging in with the drummer and listening to the lead player. I really enjoy that. And James is playing wonderfully. He's got the lick stuff nailed. A few of them we've decided to just not go with the recorded solos at all because we don't think they fit anymore, really. Not Long Line or No Secrets, for example, but there are a few other solos that we did that in the current context of this band we felt didn't fit anymore. They were too pretty.
Interesting.
We've got James playing much more aggressive kind of blues solos in those songs.
Look forward to hearing
really
it.
Good.
And so was it fun for you guys, as we spoke about, you guys span the entire career of the Angels. Was it fun to go back over that huge back catalogue and think, what are we actually going to play?
No, it wasn't fun. No, that's a terrible choice of word. It was confusing.
It was laborious.
It was laborious. We had, I don't know how many emails and phone calls going back and forth about the song. So I can't say it was fun, no. Each of us has certain songs that we just think suck, and each of us have certain songs that we think are really good songs. The surprising thing, though, was two songs in particular that I did not ever like playing live. In fact, I couldn't stand playing them live, and they're working now better than they've ever worked. And that is really interesting.
And you better tell us what those songs were. I'm keen to know.
Well, one of the songs is Don't Waste My Time, which I like as a song. You probably know it's kind of my song, but it's a great song, and I had the music for that 3 years before I joined the Angels in another band, and it was called Pull Together. So it was all complete in my head, bar the lyric. And I've always had a fondness for the song, and I kind of like the way it's recorded. At the time, I loved the way it was recorded, but now I think it's too pretty. And I didn't like playing it live with the band at all. It just never felt right. And the fun thing is that at rehearsal, I was outvoted, and everybody said we should do Don't Waste My Time, and I said, no, I didn't do it. And I lost the vote, and we did it, and it sounded fantastic.
Cool.
But now we're, I'm part of the let's do a gig. And the other song was Nature of the Beast, which again I've never enjoyed playing. There's always been something in the song that I think I like, but I haven't heard it. It's not on the record, and it was never there when we played it live. And that has come alive as well, which is really, really surprising.
Cool. So does Don't Waste My Time hark back to the Temple Gods? Is that the period you wrote that?
Before.
Before? Okay, so it's quite an old tune.
Oh yeah, I had that in a blues band called Black Cat Moan.
Yes, okay, way back.
Before we were called Black Cat Moan. I had that in 1982 or 3. Okay. I can't even remember, but it was probably 2 years before I joined the Angels, yeah.
Okay. So are there tunes that have made their way into the set list that you didn't... Because the repertoire you guys played when you were in the band obviously is, expanded to all options for this version of the band. Is there anything you're playing that you either hadn't played before or something that you thought, that'd be cool to play that you never did play, an old tune?
There's no song I've never played that I can recall. There are songs that I've rarely played. There's some songs that we just ended up kicking out of the set for whatever reason when I was in the band, and I found myself playing those at rehearsal. That was kind of kooky. Songs that I'd played, I don't know, for maybe half a tour, so whatever, a couple of dozen times or something previously. So it was kind of interesting revisiting those songs and looking at it from a different point of view, who's going to play what part, because it's not as delineated now. The part, there's no Rick part or Bob part. It's, we can mix things up. We can do whatever we want. There are no rules like that. There are guidelines, but there are no rules. So it was interesting going back on a song like, I don't know, Who Rings the Bell? I'm just pulling that out of, my mum. But Who Rings the Bell? And James and I were talking about who might play what and how we might approach it, and what sort of guitar rhythm right hand would be the best to use for it, because, we're not trying to copy Rick and John, and not only that, Rick and John, they're playing as my playing, I need to add, wasn't terribly consistent all the time, and I realise that about my own playing now, just by the way. When I listen to some live stuff, I realise that Rick and I are changing things, and, at the time I think we both thought we had the parts nailed, but I listen to them now, and it's like, we didn't really nail those parts, did we? Which is interesting. It's very weird. So, anyway, to cut to the chase, I guess. So James and I are approaching the parts with fresh ears. We're being mindful of what the guitar parts were on the record, but we're not trying to copy them. I don't think any punter's going to know the difference. We're talking about how to approach the right hand, whether it's an upstroke, whether it's a downstroke, whether something's jumped on, anticipated, those sorts of issues.
Mm-hmm.
We want the guitar parts to be really, really tight. In fact, I'm coming over to Perth in 2 weeks, and I'm just sitting with James in a room for 1 or 2 days, and all we're going to do is run the guitar part.
Okay, cool. And the other thing I spoke to James about the other night was that, you really have, I guess, Angels fans are the kind of fans that you could throw any obscure tune to them and they're going to know it. So, I think you could really just about play anything and people are going to love it, which I think is, not a lot of bands are in that position.
Yeah, I think you're right, given the band's history and long history. That also presents a problem, because the other side of that is, well, how do we decide?
Yeah, absolutely.
So my overview for song decisions is what works in the set. Now, for example, let's pick a song. Name a song, doesn't matter. Name any song. Go. Name any Angels song.
Okay. I know something.
Running out of time.
Each City, maybe.
Each City. Okay, so let's say we all agree that Each City is a great song. The problem then is, how does it work in the set? And you may find yourself presented with a set where Each City just does not work.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, you might find yourself with a set and the song you absolutely need to tie it all together is Each City. But it's how things work in context. So context is both micro and macro. It's all-encompassing, and it's also got fine details. So I don't know if that's making any sense. So you can have a great song, but if it doesn't fit in the set, it's not really a great song.
I understand, yeah.
And it needs to be surrounded by other songs. For example, if all we did was, let's say we did 10 songs the same tempo as Don't Waste My Time, right?
Yeah.
Just a slow song, that's my favourite tempo down there. Now, they could all be great songs, but suddenly you've got a set that does not work.
Yeah,
So it's
agree.
beyond, constructing things is beyond whether a song is a good song. It needs to be put in context with the set, the gig. Are people standing up? Are people sitting down? Concerns like that.
Yes,
How far you can take them. How far down and slow and quiet do you want to take them? How far up do you want to take them? So those are the sorts of concerns that we have when we are writing set lists.
I always there's quite a few Angels tunes that I refer to as the Bob Spencer groove, which is songs like Rhythm Rude Girl and Some of That Love. And I've always been fond of those sorts of. Well, the Rhythm Rude Girl tempo is. I can play that tempo all day, and I can come up with 100 songs based on that tempo. However, then you'd have a whole set of songs that are just exactly that tempo. So, but that's very comfortable for me to do. In fact, just as you called, I was trying out I've just bought a new amp, as you do when you're a sad, sorry guitar player. And all I've been doing is playing that Rude Girl tempo for about an hour or two. Without thinking about Rude Girl, it's just that that's the tempo I seem to kind of fall into, And I alluded to the Temple Gods before, and that my memory goes back to that groove from that band.
Yeah, that really was a good band too. But a band misplaced in time, but it was a good band. There were some good things. In fact, I listened to the Temple Gods album about a year ago because I was packing CDs and I just happened to come across it. And I thought, I might just whack it on. And there are good bits in there.
Absolutely.
You forget sometimes. You forget that there are actually good bits on albums. Forget, A song like Beyond Salvation, for example, off Beyond Salvation, I think it's off Beyond Salvation. Now, I'm responsible for some of that music, and I couldn't remember it. I couldn't remember having played, written it or anything.
Yeah, well, like you say, if you're you're writing all the time. It's you're moving on all the time.
Absolutely, I am writing all the time, and whilst I've been trying out my new amp, I came up with another, 3 or 4 riffs. So when I say writing all the time, I mean all the time, like every day. And 2 mornings, 2 days ago on Friday morning, that was 3 days ago, I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start recording because my head was just full of ideas. And, it's lovely, but I won't call it a curse, but it can kind of take over your life,
I understand. Well, on the subject of that, tell us a bit about the tunes for this movie soundtrack you mentioned when we first started talking about it. Sounds really interesting.
It is really interesting. It's really challenging, and it came totally out of the blue. I just happened to email an old mate. I won't give you the exact details just yet, but I just happened to email an old friend of mine who's a director, and he said, "Funny you should email me. I need some music because the stuff that my composer has come up with I don't like. Have you got anything?" And I said, well, I've got thousands of bits of music that I think is suitable for films, but he had something very particular in mind. So one morning I sat down and literally while my stepdaughter was getting ready for school, I just recorded 15 minutes worth of ideas and emailed them to him, and the next thing I get is, "This is fantastic," and the next thing I've got is, "I've put them in 10 parts of the film. Have you got more?"
Awesome.
So I've been investing time into that in the last, it's been about 3 weeks now, that I've been pursuing that, and I find it very challenging, but a lot of fun. So I've always wanted to do, I'm sorry if this sounds a bit odd, but I've always wanted to do film music, and I've never followed it through properly, or I've never introduced myself to the right people or whatever, and this is a really great opportunity to do something that I've wanted to do my whole life.
Magnificent. I look forward to hearing it.
Well, it's odd, we're not talking about, the thing from Star Wars here, but it's really good fun. It's really interesting thinking about the colour that your parts need to have to marry with the film, what's going on with the film. And it's this kind of symbiotic relationship where I send music to the director, and then he sends me an email saying, "Right, well, I've re-edited that entire scene to make better use of your music."
That's pretty impressive.
I didn't realise that's the way it happened because I've not had anything to do with films before, but it's been really, really enjoyable. I've been actually feeling quite good about myself since last week. Which is a bit of a danger. But it's a great thing to do, and I hope to do more. I've been getting some advice, some legal advice about film music issues, and I hope to do more of it. And, the Angels aren't going to play all next year by any means. I certainly don't want to. I've got other things to do. So what I'm figuring is that the Angels play for a month or something, and then we have 3 months off where I go do something else, and then maybe come back to the Angels for another month. But I don't want to be playing all year. I have other things to do, as does everybody else in the band. Has a lot of irons in fires. Jim has got stuff that he wants to do. Buzz has got stuff, but everybody's got stuff that they want to do. The Angels is no longer our life's priority as it was when we were in our 20s,
But I'm hoping for you guys too, the fact that you're looking at it like that will make it not only just fun for you on an ongoing basis, but also, keep the band alive. And as I said, it's very exciting for us guys to have all you people that we know and love from the Angels back out there doing it. So I really hope that it's, by doing that, it keeps it going for a long time.
Oh, look, thank you very much. And I think this is a better way to approach it than that, let's play every week thing, which is just a band killer. And in fact, that is the primary reason that that there was the original split between Buzz and Doc and the Brewsters, because my understanding is that the Brewsters wanted to play all the time, due to whatever reasons they had, and Buzz and Doc said, well, it's nice to earn money, however, there are other issues, and we don't think we should be playing every week. And my understanding is that part of that original rift came from that just the disagreement over how often to play. And I see that the Brewsters are playing like all the time now. I certainly don't want to be doing that.
Like I said, it's great to have you out there, but it's also great that you're enjoying it. And as we spoke about before, you've got so many great other projects in the on the boil and Raw Brit. At the top of my list that I'm hanging out to see you guys. So
thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Well, I look forward to you introducing yourself at one of the shows.
I will definitely be there, mate. And I have also been knocking on some promoters' doors here in Adelaide, suggesting that they need to sort of talk to you guys at some stage. So, but very much looking forward to you coming back with the lads from the Angels, mate.
Thank you very much, Michael. I really appreciate the time. Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you, mate. Take care. Good to talk to you.
You too. Ciao.
Cheers, Bob. Bye-bye.